Well, hello everybody. Apologies for the unplanned break that we took there, a technical glitch, I'm afraid, meant that we couldn't bring you the second half of what turned into be a stonking BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Supercup race. A race that was won in the end by Aidan Hills after a terrific battle with Simon Baldwin and Luke Herbert. Aidan Hills took the victory, and three of them swapping positions in true outside fashion throughout the entirety of the race. So Aidan Hills with another race victory, and that means that he will be on 9 career wins at the end of the year, one shy of what he was ideally hoping for, but there you go. He is a winner once again, with Simon Baldwin getting his second ever podium in the championship, his first one coming yesterday when he finished in third position. So the MX-5 Super Cup cars have left the circuit now. Well, they're in the paddock, and we're moving on now to our next race, which is the final round of the Dislok Civic Cup, and this is going to be a very entertaining one, I'm sure, because we've got this very, very close point situation. Not for the championship. The championship's been won by Lee Deegan, and he can't be beaten now. It is Matthew. He won it before we even arrived here at Donington Park for this final meeting of the year. He is on 268 points coming into this final race of the season. That's 55 points ahead of Daniel Reason in second. So there's nothing that Daniel can do about that. You score 25 points for a win. There's a bonus point for a fastest lap, and that's it. So Daniel Reason cannot win the championship anymore. However, we've got a really close battle going on for second place in the championship. Daniel Reason has 10 points in hand over Jason Ballantine in third, and he in turn is not a huge amount. He's about 14 points ahead of Daniel Hobson in fourth. So the second, third, fourth place battle is the one to watch for here. We've got a partially reversed grid as well, and the first race earlier on was pretty entertaining as well. That, though, will be coming up a bit later on, because actually it's the Civic Cup are our next race after that. Timetable I was looking at then has been updated, so it is going to be, it's one of those afternoons, isn't it? The BRSCC OSS Championship then that are next onto the circuit, and the cars, as you can see, are on their green flag lap. If only I'd been watching the pictures, I'd have realised what was going on. So the OSS Championship then, that whetted your appetite for the Civics later on there, so I'm sure that you'll stick around now to keep an eye on what goes on in the Dislok Civic Cup. The OSS Championship cars then making their way around the circuit now, and their first race earlier on today was a fantastic race, wasn't it? Their first race of the day, second of the weekend, which was won by Patrick Sherrington by 6.7 seconds in the end, but that didn't really do that race justice, because he came from deep in the grid and was not really one of the favourites going into the race. We were sort of anticipating a rerun of race one's battle between Mike Jenvey and Nikolai Lindberg, which saw Jenvey win the first race by just 1.2 seconds. But Sherrington came through to win the second race with Lindberg second, so 2 second places for Nikolai Lindberg. He'll be getting a bit frustrated with that now, I think. And Richard Ferns in third place. Then we move on to the final race of the day, and the result from the previous race setting the grid. So it's Sherrington on pole with Lindberg second, Ferns third and Lackford fourth, with Ross Drew and Robert Gilman, Mike Jenvey and Alistair Smart at the back of the grid. It's 2x2 rolling start as ever. We have lost a couple of cars, I'm afraid. Dominic Langdon Down will not be taking the start, and we've lost someone else as well along the way, which we'll get to in a moment though, because now the cars are coming to the start of the final race of the weekend for the OSS Championship. Away they go. Good start made from the outside of row one by Nikolai Lindberg, and he will get the lead into the first corner ahead of Patrick Sherrington, crucially. So Sherrington, who worked really hard to overtake him in the previous race, will have to do so again now. Mike Jenvey is the one arguably to watch here though, from fourth place. He was by far and away the quickest car in the track in race two, but missed the start, so he was starting from 2 laps down, and was always going to struggle to get up there and contend for lead positions. Contending for the lead position though is Patrick Sherrington, and Patrick Sherrington gets the lead back away from Nikolai Lindberg, who drops down into second place. Nikolai though will try and fight back if he can up the hill. We saw in race one the Radical is better in a straight line, whereas Patrick Sherrington's MCR is better through the corners. Mike Jenvey's car though is pretty good everywhere, and he proved that there by diving at the inside of Richard Ferns in the very big Radical RXC Spider. Richard, who's had a pair of third place finishes this weekend, he's now off the podium for the first time actually. But Mike Jenvey then, the Jenvey gun, The TS6 that he's competed in for several seasons now is an awesome machine. Very quick in a straight line, very good round the corners, and Mike Jenvey in the previous race set the fastest lap. It was 1 minute 5.435, which was almost a full second quicker than anybody else went, or about 3/4 of a second at least quicker than anyone else went. So Mike Jenvey, if he can find a way past the people in front of him, Nikolai Lindberg and Patrick Sherrington to be precise, is arguably the favourite to win the race. But Sherrington trying to get away here, trying to make his escape, and Patrick, who non-finished in the first race yesterday, has been struggling to... he's had a few mechanical issues with that car this weekend, but when it works, as we're seeing, it is very, very quick and more than capable of winning races, even against opposition like Lindberg and Jenvey, both of whom are very, very quick drivers as well. But Jenvey looks the quicker here of the two in this particular battle, doesn't he, with Lindberg having to watch his mirrors now. Mike Jenvey wants to try and get on with this. This is only a 15-minute race, so if he wants to go after Patrick Sherrington, he will have to do so pretty quickly. And, it's going to be a close battle, this, I think, because Jenvey's car is quick in a straight line, but not massively quicker than the Radical. And in fact, if anything, the Radical getting away from him there, but Jenvey's really late on the brakes, dives to the inside, and will go through at Redgate Corner. So Mike Jenvey into second position now. And at the start of the lap was about 2.7 seconds off the race leader, so he should be able to start to bridge that gap now. That's what he'll be attempting to do. But Patrick Sherrington trying to make good his escape as well. 1 minute at 6.181 was the first flying lap for Sherrington. Fastest lap of the race, but the fastest lap of the weekend so far in race conditions was set by Jenvey in the previous race, 105.4. So we're still about 3/4 of a second away from that right now. Through Coppice goes Jenvey. Let's see what the lap times are like this time through as they head down that exhibition straight past the exhibition centre. Which is the building just to their left. Circuit now completely dry over there. It was taking a while to dry out this morning, was the Donington Park National Circuit, but we got there in the end. And the OSS cars are now able to really stretch their legs. 105.754 for Jenvey, which is now almost as quick as he was going. 0.3 of a second away from his pace in the earlier race. It's a new fastest lap, and it means the gap comes down to 2 seconds. So it came down by about 3/4 of a second on that lap alone. So at that rate, he should be with Sherrington in the next lap or so. Let's see whether he's able to do that, though. The race leader, Sherrington, about to appear into our sight. There he goes. And Jenvey in second position, getting visually closer. You can see there, that gap is not 2 seconds anymore. It's probably getting closer to 1. Screeching tyres there for Sherrington as he came through, I heard, but he's okay, he's still there. All good. On to the exhibition straight again, though, with the gap diminishing by the corner almost. Jenvey will be with him shortly, but then where does he make his overtake? Where are the various strengths and weaknesses between the cars? Arguably, the Jenvey, as much as it is powerful, does seem to have a bit of an edge through the corners, but that's where Sherrington's advantage is as well. We saw that in the battle he had with Nikolai Lindberg in the previous race. 1.2 seconds the gap now, 105.6 the new fastest lap by this man, Mike Jenvey, and with coming up to 10 minutes left on the clock, he is going to be tough to hold back, but that's exactly what Patrick Sherrington will try to do. Down the hill to the old hairpin they come again. There's Lindberg in the Radical SR3, excuse me. 3 different makes of car in the top 3 as well, not just 3 different types of Radical, as we often see in this OSS Championship. We've got the MCR Sport of Sherrington, the Jenvey Gun TS6 of Jenvey, a Radical SR8 of Lindberg, and then a couple of other versions of the Radical sports car behind, with Richard Ferns in 4th position, the RXC Spider, and PL6 of Alistair Smart in 5th position, and then an SR3, yeah, the first SR3 is in 6th place, that of Ross Drew. So 6 different kinds of car in the top, or model of car in the top 6, and 3 different manufacturers represented in the top 3. Sherrington is the man under pressure now. 105.271 for Mike Jenvey is the new fastest lap of the weekend, and that's a couple of tenths up on what he gave us in the previous race, so he really is on it. He's caught Sherrington now. But where does he execute the overtake? Sherrington will cover and defend where he needs to. sound beautiful, don't they, these cars, as they head through the Old Head, and by far the quickest cars that we have racing here today. A lap time getting down for about the 1 minute mark, as we've said. Jenvey not likely to go any quicker, though, now, because he's running in that turbulent area. He's getting held up. He's stuck running at Patrick Sherrington's speed. He'll want to get through quickly before he gets stuck running at that speed. When you spend more than a lap or so behind somebody, it's very easy to just start running at their pace and no quicker. And you'll want to avoid that if you can. Down the straight they go, though. He has a lunge up the inside, and Jenvey goes through, and in the end it's fairly easy. So Patrick Sherrington drops down behind Mike Jenvey, who heads onto the pit straight, but Sherrington's coming back at him and has decent straight line speed, actually, doesn't he, in that MCR? Can he go to the outside into Redgate corner? Well, yes, and that might give him a better exit. In fact, he's going to try and go right round the outside, Patrick Sherrington. Mike Jenvey was always going to show him the edge of the road, though. Goes back to the late apex. No, still can't. Oh, he can go. Oh, hang on, what happened? There's something broken on Jenvey's car. Mike Jenvey's car suddenly snaps sideways, and the car is crawling its way down the hill now. That, I don't think there was contact between the two of them. I think that was just something that broke, ironically, just as he got the race lead away, and the car snapped sideways through Hollywood. Now, is there anything? There's no puncture. The tyres are all up. The wheels look like they're at the right angle, but he's having none of it. He's pulling off the road, and his day is done, and that is a shame for Mike, the winner of race 1. But some sort of an issue kept him out from the start, from missing the start of the race in race number 2. And now it's taken him out of the lead of race number 3. So Mike Jenvey then is out, and well, Patrick Sherrington can't believe his luck, I'd imagine. So that means that Lindbergh will move into 2nd, Richard Ferns will be back into 3rd. So we've now got the same podium that we had in race number 2 at the moment, with Lindbergh a little bit further back than, well, about 5 seconds off the lead as they came through that time. Is not quite as far back as he ended up at the end of the previous race. He finished 6.78 seconds behind Sherrington in the first race, but we still have 6 3/4 minutes of this race to go, so just under half of the race still remaining. And Sherrington now just needs to hope that nothing happens to his car and that he can bring it home in one piece. We're watching here the number 50 of Norman Lackford, who's running in 7th position. He's 7.5 seconds behind Ross Drew, and about 49 seconds ahead of the number 6 car of Robert Gilman. So not involved in a particularly tight scrap at the moment, and indeed was about 1.5 seconds slower than Drew that time around. That is Drew going through the first couple of corners. There is Alistair Smart in 4th position. Richard Ferns is 3.1 seconds in front of him, but he wasn't quicker on the previous occasion. There they are, look, 3rd and 4th. Closest pair of cars on the track now. The diminutive PR6, which did battle with Richard Ferns' monstrous RXC Spider in the first race as well. And is looking to try and do the same again, but Richard did eventually get past him and pulled away. That's much what we're seeing now, I think. The chicane onto the pit straight once again, and across the start-finish line goes the number 72 machine, which has had a okay weekend, I guess. Race 2 was a non-finish, but the first race he was 4th position with Alistair Smart, and he has the pace, I think, to finish top 5 fairly regularly. But as with all of these cars, motorbike engine cars, in many of them, that one certainly isn't radical, and they're fairly highly strung, so mechanical issues not unheard of. So Sherrington then leading the way by 5.1 seconds, Lindbergh 2nd, Ferns in 3rd will be over the line, well, actually not all that shortly. That's how far back they are. The top 2 have already gone through at the end of their 9th lap of the race, and these 2 are only now coming down into the final corner. Alistair Smart possibly lapping a bit quicker than the car in front. Yeah, I don't think he was 3 seconds behind, I guess, at the start of the lap. He was fractionally quicker than Ferns on the previous circuit, even though they actually both did personal best laps. And yeah, it comes down by another 10th this time. So Alistair Smart to Richard Ferns. Ferns is catching him here. Smart is catching him, excuse me, here, but not by a huge amount, really. It's a fairly small gain. Ferns just keeping keeping out of trouble here, not taking too many risks. There's no real need to, because he's quite a long way behind the next car in front. He's 28.3 seconds behind Nikolai Lindberg, so Burns then heads out of the right-hander at McLean's, picks his way up the hill. Sherrington and Jenvey are continuing to run almost identical lap times, but I think that's just because Sherrington Lindberg, excuse me. I think Sherrington knows that he doesn't need to run down at his maximum pace. In fact, they're both over a second now off what they were doing earlier on, so they both realise that they are likely to be the positions in which they finish. As the line goes, this battle then that's slowly developing for third place, but Smart was actually quite a bit quicker that time. He took about 7/10 out of Richard Ferns with a personal best lap time, and not a slow lap for Ferns. Ferns was only a 10th off his best. That was a genuine gain there for Alistair Smart, who now is only 2.3 seconds behind. Trouble is, he's running out of laps. 2 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock, that's all. So, even if he can get there, of course, he's got to try and execute an overtake, but this is the closest pair of cars on the track, so may as well focus on them. McLean's, where thankfully the rain is no longer there. We saw at the start of that MX5 Supercup race, didn't we, that it was very, very dicey up there when the rain came in all of a sudden, but the rain, as quickly as it came, seemed to disappear, and we had a couple of laps of pandemonium, and then everything sort of settled down again. Right, this gap really has come down now. A very tentative run into the chicane for Richard Ferns. Means that Alistair Smart is right there with him now, and Alistair Smart in the PR6 will be very good on the brakes, so watch out for an out-braking manoeuvre. Maybe not into Redgate, he's a bit too far back, I think, but possibly down at the old hairpin. It's a circuit that should suit the PR6. It's a high-speed circuit. You can generate the speed from carrying mid-corner speed, and that's what the lightweight, nimble PR6 does particularly well. Is it going to be close enough? Yeah, carries good speed through the crater curves, has a look to the inside, but no, thought better of it. This, remember, is for third position overall, and not for class positions. So there's not a huge amount on the line here other than the overall podium, which Alistair Smart will be looking to try and snatch away here. He's not had a podium yet this weekend because Ferns has been in third place on both occasions so far, but they've been pretty evenly matched. They had a nice dice, as I said, in the early stages of this morning's race before the PR6 ended about the race. And things are once again very tight between them now. In this final race of the season, down into the chicane at the end of the lap, Richard Ferns heads out very gingerly, almost like he's really having to watch the power, isn't he? Really having to be careful with the throttle application. Now, Alistair Smart, I think, learned from what happened a lap ago down the Craner curves. He knows that's where he's quick. So if he can just execute the perfect run through here. He went a little bit offline last time in his eagerness to get alongside. But actually, he's not close enough this time. So Richard Ferns, no walkover. He's going to let Alistair Smart work for this. Size difference between these two cars is, as I said in race one, it's hard to imagine that these are both cars made by the same manufacturer, but they very much are. The PR6, the older of the two, that seems to be the trend with the automotive industry. Things get bigger over time, and radicals definitely are getting bigger. But the Spider, which can run with a roof as well, it isn't doing today, but that's the idea behind it. You can plonk a little roof over the top of that roll cage and turn it into a closed cockpit prototype, but it's a bit lighter with the roof not included. That's the way in which it's running this weekend. Richard Ferns is actually now starting to look reasonably secure. He just set his personal best lap, 1 minute 9.0, a couple of tenths quicker than Alistair Smart managed behind him, so he's spurred on by the fact that he's under this pressure from Smart. We're on the final lap of the race now, though. And in fact, the checkered flag, I think, has just gone out to Patrick Sherrington. And Patrick, yep, there he is. Gives himself a round of applause, and he is a fairly comfortable winner. 7.9 seconds in the end over Nikolai Lindberg in second position. And then this battle for third. This is what's going to rage down to the line, isn't it? We've got Richard Ferns and Alistair Smart still together, and Ferns defending the inside line at Coppice Corner. Smart all over the curb there, trying to just carry the momentum off onto the exhibition straight, and I don't think he's going to get there now because he's not close enough to outbrake into the chicane. The best he can hope for is a really good exit from the chicane and try to have a go at out dragging that big spider to the line, but that's not going to happen, and so it is going to be a triple podium for Richard Ferns. 3 third places for him, 3 second places actually for Nikolai Lindberg, and a second win of the weekend for Patrick Sherrington. Alistair Smart in 4th, 5th place for Ross Drew, 6th for Norman Lackford, 7th position for number 6, which was Robert Gilman, and Mike Jenvey, the only non-finisher in the end, but he was an unfortunate non-finisher because he was looking as though he was going to win the race in the early stages before, unfortunately not for the first time, mechanical gremlins struck the Jenvey gun and put him out of the race. But nonetheless, an enjoyable race that, and Patrick Sherrington a worthy winner. He is going to be very happy with yet another race victory for the MCR, and the MCR Sport that's won, I think I'm right in saying, more races than anybody else this year in the OSS Championship. And beautiful looking car, very, very quick as well, as we've seen. Patrick Sherrington will get out of the car, and P1 for number 40. I think that if it was even in doubt at all, that should hopefully wrap up the championship for Patrick as well. He looks remarkably calm. Not a shred of emotion on his face. There we go. Deep breath. And he gets out of the car and is the winner then of the final race of the season, certainly the weekend, for the BRSCC OSS Championship. So well done to Patrick then. Nikolai Lindberg 2nd place again. Richard Ferns in 3rd, and I think that we can now head down to Bryn Lucas, who's down in the pit lane with our podium drivers.
Well, there you go. A pretty comprehensive race victory, I'd say. If we speak to Patrick. Patrick, can we get a quick word with you? If I can grab you this way, because we've got a radio signal problem. That's perfect. We can see your car in the background looking majestic too. So that's a pretty good weekend, a pretty good day anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, another couple of wins, 11 wins this year, which is amazing. It's been a really good year.
Now this race was a slightly different story to the previous race. I mean, this one you still had Nikolai giving you a bit of staying on your shoulders somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, I knew it'd be tough into Redgate. Again, he got me on the power, and I thought I've got to get by quickly because, again, I knew Mike Jenvey would be coming soon, and I was just I was that bit closer and that bit braver into into the old hairpin on cold tyres, and just got by.
Just looking at the weather right now, it seems like rain weather at race ended exactly the right point, because it looks like it's starting to rain as well, and it's been a bit on and off for the last hour or so.
Yeah, it has. We had a momentary panic before going out. It did start to rain a bit, but not enough for wets, and it thankfully stayed dry. We had a big wet race here at Donington in the dark in May, so one's enough in the year.
I was going to say, what is it like in these cars when it's in the wets? Because you're on slicks at the moment. Do you have wet tyre compound?
We do. You put wet tyres and a compound, but say it's gets your attention, put it that way. It's a lot of horsepower and not enough downforce relative to the horsepower, so they're tricky in the wet.
Yeah, I bet they are. Well done to you. 2 races today and 2 race wins.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. There we go. I'm not sure if we can be able to get any other drivers at the moment. It looks like we probably won't be able to, so we're going to take a little bit of a pause, a very short pause here before we go to our next race. We've got the Dislok Civic Cup coming up on its way. One more race of the day after that, but that is it for us here for now. For just a few moments, keep your eyes on the stream, keep your eyes here on Donington Park, because we're about to get going very soon with the Dislok Civic Cup.
Welcome back, everybody, to Donington Park and the final round of the 2019 Dislok Civic Cup. I was a little premature in my build-up to this race, so excited was I about the prospect of what the next 15 minutes will have in store for us. That's because the first race earlier on today was an absolute barnstormer. It was rather dominated by Lee Deegan, but that's kind of been the story of the year, really. But the battling that was going on behind him was fantastic and really, really close stuff. We saw a brilliant battle going on for second place. Daniel Reason was caught by Bruce Winfield about a third of the way or so through the race. The two of them did battle for a few laps, and eventually they ran side by side down the Crater curves and contact was made. Winfield ended up in the gravel, and with that gravelly excursion has arguably given up his chances now of taking second place in the championship. He was part of this really close and extensive battle for second place in the title, with Lee Deegan having wrapped up the championship before we even got to Donington Park this weekend. And that will finish, unfortunately, because of quite a lot of points. So he's now, I think, too far back mathematically to certainly realistically to move into second in the championship. But the significance of it was that Daniel Reason, the man with whom he tangled, was that, and is indeed the man that's second place in the points. He's got a 10-point cushion now over Jason Ballantine. Of course, Bruce Winfield should have been up there as well, had that not gone wrong, and he ended up in the gravel trap. No action though has been taken that I've heard of over that incident, so it's the result has stood. So Daniel Reason then comes into the race 55 points off the championship lead, but 10 points ahead of Jason Ballantine, and this is the final race of the season now. So Daniel Reason and Jason Ballantine, the two that we really need to focus on here. But it's not just enough for Ballantine to beat Daniel Reason. He has to beat him and get a few cars between them. You score 25 points for a race victory in this championship, 22 for second, 20 for third, then 18, 16, 14, 12, and then 11, 10, 9, 8, etc. Anywhere outside the top 20, you score a point. Even if you retire, you score a point. There's also a bonus point for fastest lap, and that means that the maximum points haul is 26 points for this race, and Lee Deegan has been racking up those 26 points hauls all year long, really, with more wins than anybody else. And that's why he was crowned champion before we even got here this weekend. But Daniel Reason, with this 10-point cushion, we'll see what progress they can make, because it's a partially reversed grid as well. Remember, the top 10 finishes from race number 1 have been flipped. But in theory, if Jason Ballantine were to win the race, then I think a top 5 would be required. Yeah, top 5 would be required for Daniel Reason to hang on to this second place in the championship. So if he's 6th or lower and Ballantine wins it, then Jason could move into second place in this final race. Possible for Daniel Hobson to do the same, but he had a bit of a difficult first race. He ended up 5th, but for a lot of that race was running down in about 7th or 8th, and only in the second half was able to pick his way through some other people's drama to enable him to score a few more points than it looked like he would, but he was still outscored by Daniel and Jason, who were immediately in front of him. Ben Sharp was also part of the fun. Ben is not in that championship battle for second place. He is, though, on form this weekend, very much quick enough to challenge for a victory. The grid, though, will see Lewis Rose and Max Lewis on the front row of the grid together, and that will be a fascinating battle between those two, because they've been pretty matched all day, and they had a nice battle with Alistair Camp, I seem to recall. Yeah, Alistair Camp got past them both in the previous race. It took him a bit longer to get past Lewis Rose than he'd have liked, but he did eventually do it, and Alistair finished in 8th place. That means he's 3rd on the grid for the final race of the season. So the second race then of the weekend will be underway shortly. There's a bit of a delay here, I think, because we have cars that are being covered after our previous OSS Championship race. We still have a couple of races to go, though, today. This is the Civic Cup race, as we've been saying. We'll then have something that isn't a race, but is still of interest, actually, the BRSCC Fiesta Junior sampler session, which we ran at the Brands Hatch TCR meeting as well, with great success. An opportunity for some youngsters who are looking to maybe go racing in the Fiesta Junior Championship next year to have a bit of track time at an actual race meeting. And there'll be a handful of those going around the circuit later on, and we'll have hopefully a chance to catch up with some representatives of the Fiesta Junior Championship of the BRSCC down in the pit lane. And then after that, we have our Track Attack Nippon Challenge second race. That'll be our final on-track action of the day, which will be hopefully a repeat of the spectacular race that we saw earlier on this afternoon for the Track Attack cars, which was particularly entertaining with a massive array of hot hatchbacks, Donington Track, Clios, Civics, etc. Speaking of Civics, we have lots of them now on the grid. We hopefully will have 24 of them, because whilst we did have a handful of retirements in the previous race, I don't think any of those drivers incurred a huge amount of damage on the cars. Although I can see out of the window there is a gap where Daniel Hobson should be, interestingly. Now, Daniel Hobson, fourth in the points, I was saying possibly could have still challenged for second. He certainly could have challenged for third in the championship, but not if he's not going to start the race. He should be on the third row, just behind that number 51 car we've got on the screen of David Buki. He ain't there, so whether he's at the back or not, I don't know. We'll try and see if I can spot him on the green flag lamp. We'll be getting in the way very shortly. The Dislok Civic Cup cars then, lining up on the grid now ahead of their second race of the weekend, and headlights ablaze now in the gathering gloom late this afternoon at Donington Park. The weather, thankfully, has been fairly favourable all day, not warm by any stretch, but with the exception of a very quick and very dramatic shower that we had in that MX-5 Supercup race about 40 minutes ago. It has stayed dry by and large all day long. So off the cars go then on the green flag lap, final Civic Cup race of the day, and Lewis Rose has the pole position for this one after the reversed grid favoured him, top 10 reversed, so he ends up on pole, having finished 10th in the previous race. Alongside him, Max Lewis, and I think they're both looking at their first victories of the year, if memory serves. Then Alistair Camp, who's had a win earlier on this year, likewise David Buki, they share the second row. Then Paul Taylor and no Daniel Hobson. Now I can't see him at the back of the grid either, so I don't think Daniel Hobson's going to take the start, which is a real shame because he was another potential front runner. And you would have expected would be making some moves there from that third row, but he's not going to be there, unfortunately. Ben Sharp and Jason Ballantine share row four. Jason Ballantine, the man that's third in the championship, he's one of the two that we're really focusing on in this race to see who comes out on top in that battle, really now private battle between himself and the next man on the grid, Daniel Rees, black FN2 Civic, a slightly newer shaped Civic. I say newer, it's probably over 10 years old now, that shape of car, but it's the more bug-like shape of Civic, which there are only two out there on the track today. Lee Deegan is 10th on the grid, race one winner, but more race than anybody else this year, that's why he's the champion. Then row 6 for Aaron Rose and Oliver Barsby, who's in the second of the FN2 Civics. George Alp Williams and Damien Harris share the 7th row. Sam Nicolao and Paul McHugh are on row 8 of the grid, ahead of Rick Shortle and Craig Carter. Terry Taylor and Sam Linsner are on the 10th row. And then we get to our non-finishers from the previous race, of which number 4, Bruce Winfield, arguably the paciest of them, so he's one we'll watch for as well. Towards the back, you can see him in the background there with his lights on the orange car. 30, no, there he goes, the other orange car in the back of the shot that was just appearing. 37, Bruce Winfield, 21st on the grid, Morgan Bailey alongside him. And Morgan Bailey, yeah, he's one to watch actually. He qualified 7th, so Winfield and Bailey were 6th and 7th on the grid originally for the first race. Neither of them got to the end of the previous one though, so they're both quick. Andy Hart lines up on the 12th row, and Mike Ballantine never made it beyond the first corner, although actually Andy Hart and Sam Nicolao did tangle at the start-finish line. They both ended up in the pit wall. They both got their cars out of the way, but Andy Hart was out of the race. Nicolao continued and finished in 15th place, which was fairly impressive. And then Mike Ballantine gets himself on the gravel at the first corner. To the pole position then goes Lewis Rose, number 81 car, which is showing a few war wounds from earlier on in the year. Alongside him, Max Lewis, their second row, Alistair Camp, David Buki, moving up. Number 51 on the Civic, the much more popular in this series, at least, EP3 shaped Civic. There's no real difference in performance, it's got to be said, between the various shapes of car. Now, the biggest problem we saw really in the first race, as I sort of alluded to, was a dramatic first lap or so. That's because rear tyre temperature is not easy to find in these cars, and without it, lots of sideways moments tend to be the norm on the opening lap or so. Let's hope we don't see too many of those, because we want a nice clean start and a good race, which this reverse grid race usually is. Getting ready then for the final time this year to go racing in the Dislok Civic Cup with Lewis Rose and Max Lewis on the front row of the grid. Lights out, they're off, down towards the first corner, headlights ablaze for Max Lewis from the outside of row number 1. David Buki's away well from row 2, and again we've got contact on the start line with a car pointing the wrong way at the back of the grid. We'll get to that in a moment though. We'll focus on the leaders first. Lewis Rose has the lead, Buki second, and here comes Ballantine. Oh, he gets into the back of Buki. Buki's in the gravel, and Jason Ballantine from, where did he start? 8th on the grid, is into 2nd place through the first corner. Not necessarily what David Buki wanted to hear, because he just got punted up the rear by Ballantine. In fact, make that 3rd, because he has lost one more position as a result of that contact. But that was still a mighty launch from Jason Ballantine, the orange number 22 car then, who, remember, needs to outscore Daniel Reason by 11 points ideally in this race in order to snatch 2nd place in the championship. And I don't think Reason's gained all that many places, so far so good for Ballantine. There is Daniel Reason, the black number 77 car going through the shot. And he now has some work to do, especially because Ballantine is going for 2nd place on the inside there of Paul Taylor. Through Coppice Corner, they're almost leaning on each other. They're still going to be side by side onto the back straight. Looks as though Max Lewis is plummeting down the order, but he's down to 5th after the opening exchanges. But side by side for 2nd place there on the outside is Paul Taylor from 5th on the grid. On the inside and going through though into 2nd from 8th on the grid, Jason Ballantine. And that was a fantastic opening lap. There may be a discussion about what happened at the first corner between himself and David Buki, but nonetheless, he's got through and he's into 2nd place. It's now side by side for 3rd because Taylor was slow off the chicane. Everyone's stacking up behind. Alistair Camp goes to the inside. Round the outside has gone Lee Deegan. Is that? Yes, it is Lee Deegan, the 48 car, who might be able to sign off with yet another victory here at this rate. It's close for the lead too, as Lewis Rose has been caught now very much by Jason Ballantine, very rapidly as well, and Jason won't want to hang around here. Looks to the inside, can't get through there. To the outside, won't go right around the outside now. Here comes Daniel Reason as well. He's starting to make progress. He's got past Paul Taylor. Off has gone Andy Hart again, I'm afraid. So Andy's second race at least, he gets a bit longer into it before something goes wrong. Oh, there's contact for the race leader. Lewis Rose goes off now, and Jason Ballantine is not making many friends out there at all today. Off goes Lewis Rose into the gravel at McLean's. That was contact through Schwantz Curve, and well, we just caught the moment of contact, but we couldn't see what was leading up to that. I'm sure Lewis will have his version of the story, but Jason Ballantine is in the lead. He's damaged the front of his car there. Look, the splitter is dragging, and the last thing he wanted to see behind him was Lee Deegan, the champion-elect, arriving on his rear bumper. That's exactly what he's got, though. Looking to the inside, looking to the outside. Deegan can't get through just yet, and then you've got Alistair Camp right behind them in 3rd as well. Wow, what drama there. Jason Ballantine doing whatever it takes here to try and snatch this 2nd place in the championship. Almost bump drafting there across the line where Deegan and Alistair Camp. And Daniel Reason, look, is into 4th place. So as things stand, points just being updated, I reckon Reason would hang on to this, but only by about 3 points. He can't afford to lose any more places, but he has at least been able to pick his way through a little bit better on the 2nd lap than he did on the opening one. Bruce Winfield's had a brilliant start as well. He's he's just going for 8th at the inside of Paul Taylor, having started 21st on the grid. The leading trio are down at the old hairpin, and this is a proper Civic Cup race. This is exactly what we're hoping for as they head out into a yellow flag zone now at Starkey's and Schwantz. That's why, of course, because Lewis Rose's car is stuck in the gravel right in the firing line. I'm almost surprised that we haven't got a safety car for that, because that is, if that's not a precarious position, I don't know what is, but there you go. So yeah, Daniel Reason as it stands would be on 231 points. Jason Ballantine would be on 228 points. So 3 points to the good now is Daniel Reason, and he's actually catching the lead group anyway, whilst Ballantine is struggling. That splitter's getting looser and looser. That isn't the correct geometry for a left rear tyre on a Civic Cup car. So out of the race goes Andy Hart. Change of lead though. Lee Deegan goes through. Now that changes the point situation once again, and not in a good way for Jason Ballantine, who will now lose some points. Not to Daniel Reason. He needed to outscore him by more than this. Across the line they go. Deegan, the new leader then. 2nd for Ballantine. He's got Alistair Camp right behind him now in 3rd, and looking to the inside into Redgate Corner for 2nd position. Can he go through? No, he can't. More side-by-side action as well behind. Now that's Sharp. That's Ben Sharp, who hasn't been quite as sharp maybe as the likes of Deegan and Ballantine in carving through the order, but he is now starting to arrive on the scene. I think Deegan though is about to leave because he is out in front, he's pulling away, and just as we saw in race 1, I don't think he's going to be easy to catch. The inside there goes the 26 car. It's actually Sharp losing the place now to number 26, which was Bailey, and I'm trying to look where he started the race because it was not right in front, I don't think, was it, number 26, so he's... Yeah, where did he start? Actually, I can't see him on my grid sheet either way. He wasn't in the top 4 or 5 rows, so... Morgan Bailey, yeah, there we go, 22nd on the grid, Morgan Bailey, so he's 7th now. In fact, 6th, because he just passed Sharp, didn't he? Bruce Winfield's got the fastest lap, by the way. And now, so all is not lost here for Ballantine, because yes, he's lost the lead, but he's also lost that splitter, so he's no longer dragging on the floor. That will possibly be a benefit for him. There are plenty of cars, though, behind Daniel Rees that could potentially overtake him and take some points away from him. As it stands, I think, then, if Ballantine finishes where he is in 2nd, and that's a big if, I think he needs reason to lose another 2, maybe 3 places then to take that 2nd place away from him. And with people like Bruce Winfield and Ben Sharp still behind, that could yet happen. So out of Red they go then. Ballantine in 2nd place. As things stand now, it's 6 points in it, in Reason's favour. Ballantine will be kicking himself a bit about these 6 penalty points he picked up earlier on in the season. All sideways for Sharp, off into the grass. He bounces his way back on the road, and Paul Taylor will go past him. But that was a good save there from Ben Sharp. Sadly, he started to now go back down the time between rather than up it, which is not what he would have been hoping. The hill they go then. Lee Deegan, 1.3 seconds clear at the start of the lap from everybody else trying to be in 2nd place. Ballantine, Cameron, Reason, Lewis, Bailey, Winfield, Taylor, Sharp, Nicolao, they're all in a long line. And this is why it's still a precarious position, this, for Daniel Reason. He can't really afford to start hemorrhaging places. He's got Max Lewis right behind him. Max, who started on the front row, slipped backwards, and he's now starting to become a factor in this race again. The blue and pink car. There's Bruce Winfield from the back of the grid, the Area Motorsport machine. Area Motorsport, one of the leading lights in Dislok Civic Cup racing. Alistair Camp, though, looking for 2nd place here. Goes to the outside of Bruce Winfield towards Redgate Corner. Not Bruce Winfield, sorry, Jason Ballantine into Redgate Corner. Fastest lap, by the way, now still belongs to Bruce Winfield, so that's where that bonus point is going. That would have been handy for our 2nd place championship contenders, one of them to have scored, but it's Winfield that is the man on the mission here. He might have been making another move. Yeah, he is. Look around the outside in the background. Done that will put Winfield ahead of Bailey now, ahead of Morgan Bailey. They shared the 11th row of the grid. Bailey sideways though, he's going to lose it. He's off the road, and does he avoid the barriers? He does. He's going back in the road though, and right back across into the gravel trap. Well, that was a terrifying moment for Morgan Bailey, and miraculously he avoided hitting anything solid, but he is beached in the gravel and will be out of the race. But that could have been an almighty shunt there. It was shades of Nigel Mansell, wasn't it, back in the 90s in his Ford Mondeo. He was headed straight for that bridge for a horrifying moment, but thankfully overcorrected it in a way, but he corrected it and stayed away from the bridge and slid back across the road into the gravel. Well, that's one of the chasing pack down then, so that's one less person that Daniel Reason has to worry about, I suppose. Here's Ballantine down to the chicane, across the start-finish line then with Alistair Camp in his wheel tracks, then Daniel Reason, then Max Lewis, and then Bruce Winfield. So just theoretically here, if Ballantine finished in 2nd place and Reason fell out of the 4th place he's in now, finished at the back of that queue in what would be 6th position, that would cost him an extra 4 points. So now actually he can let all of these cars, he can let both of those cars through behind him, and I think he'll still be okay for 2nd. It would be tight, but I think he would probably hang on because he's 6 points behind, and that would only cost him, sorry, 6 points ahead, sorry, that would only cost him 4 points. So in a way, if those 2 cars behind go past him, it's not the end of the world. He'd rather keep them there, just in case, but there's little chance of Ballantine gaining any further ground, you'd imagine here. Here comes Winfield at the inside of Max Lewis, and Max closed the door. Winfield saw it coming and thankfully bailed out of the move before contact was made. I'm not entirely sure what's happened to Ben Sharp because well, someone's off. That's the 83 car that's gone off of Craig Carter down at the old hairpin. Ripped the rear bumper loose. Side by side for 2nd place then. Alistair Camp round the outside of Jason Ballantine into the chicane. Can he go right round the outside? That's risky and it doesn't work. race behind, with 5.5 minutes there still to go. We're still only not even 2/3 of the way through the race. Max Lewis now pulls out to try and have a go at Daniel Reason, whilst also watching what Bruce Winfield's doing in his mirrors. I think it's Winfield that might make the move. He looks to the inside line, he commits, he's late on the brakes, and Bruce Winfield is through. He's up a place now, another place into 5th position. Will have some effect on his points. He could still beat Daniel Hobson, actually, couldn't he, to 4th in the points. Before that move was made, he was 7 points behind him, and that particular move gained him another couple of points, so I'll update at the end of the lap, I think, but I reckon that Winfield, if he keeps on making this sort of progress, could move into the top 4 at least in the championship. He could yet overtake all of these drivers and start taking points out of Ballantine and Reason. Oh, he muscles his way through now. Well, there are not yellow flags out there. He might have overtaken after the yellow flags, but he's ahead of Daniel Reason now significantly. So Bruce Winfield is now 4th. What does that do to the points? He's gained 2 places already on this lap. That's worth 4 bonus points. As I said, he's not likely to be able to take 2nd place himself, but he could have a direct effect on who does. Daniel Reason then down 1 more position with Max Lewis the next behind. Alistair Camp now will be starting to get the real hurry up because he's been stuck behind Jason Ballantine all race long, quite literally. But now he's got some real pressure because when Daniel Reason was behind him, he knew that Daniel wasn't going to take the risk of throwing away 2nd place in the championship. Bruce Winfield had really nothing to lose and he's right there with him now. 4 minutes to go. The lead, that's not the lead gap because this is the 2nd place gaggle, isn't it? And Bruce Winfield is looking to the inside, Camp going to the outside. He's taken the punt on going the long way round, but that leaves the door open for Winfield. Ballantine shovels him off the road. Bruce Winfield could get both of them. He'll certainly get one of them, I think. He pulls himself alongside Alistair Camp. Can Camp hold tough round the outside through Hollywood, get the inside for the cradle curves? That's what he tries. Bruce Winfield, oh, they almost lean on each other. That's exactly what Winfield did, wasn't it, in the previous, or what happened to Winfield in the previous race when racing with Daniel Reason. And now immediately he pulls alongside Jason Ballantine. There's a slow car in front of them as well, and they're all about to emerge into our side to Schwartz curve together. And it's Winfield that goes through, and Ballantine's on the grass. Jason Ballantine is on the grass. He bounces his way back on the road, right in front of Daniel Reason. He's off into the gravel trap, and that was always going to go wrong. Neither was going to give way. The back mark was there too. They had to somehow find the space to get through, and there just wasn't the room. And it's Bruce Winfield, amazingly, that gets himself into 2nd place now, having started 21st on the grid. I can't wait to find out what happened there between Winfield and Ballantine, but that now will cost Ballantine a huge haul of points because he's out of the race now. I don't know what the drop score situation is, but Ballantine will absolutely now drop down the points order, won't he? So let's see what that means for Winfield. Winfield is now a point ahead of Daniel Hobson, so that's definitely giving Winfield 4th in the championship, and Daniel Reason is now fairly secure in 2nd. So I don't think Ballantine will lose any positions. I think he should still stay 3rd place. He'll just have a non-point score for this one. It's not over yet, though, of course, because we've still got 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, and then actually Winfield, having got into 2nd place, is not really getting away. They're 5 seconds behind Lee Deegan. I'm amazed that's not a bigger gap, actually, in all honesty, given the pace that he's had and how much they've been holding each other up behind. David Buki, incidentally, has recovered to 9th after being off in the gravel at the 1st corner. One of many drivers to make close acquaintance with Jason Ballantine in this race. Morgan Bailey was the other one, wasn't he, from the back of the grid, and he, of course, has gone off the road, hasn't he, and brought a call into the pit lane, so he's don't need to worry too much about him. Sam Nicolai was another that, yeah, he's made progress, 15th to 8th, so quite a few feel-good stories here. It's Winfield, though, driver of the race for me, absolutely. There may have been contact there with Ballantine, but I think it was just one of those racing incidents, really, from what we could see, and that was about the only bit of contact I've seen him make all races. With a squeaky clean drive through the field, and by a solitary point, he's now moved his way into 4th place in the championship now, ahead of Daniel Hobson. He can't catch Ballantine, I don't think. Even with Ballantine out of the race, I don't think Bruce Winfield can take 3rd in the championship away from him. Head then down the hill into the old hairpin, and for what will be the penultimate time, I'd imagine. We should have time for one more lap after this one. The place is likely to change. Reason can now almost, if he wanted to, afford to wave Max Lewis through, because he doesn't need to finish in this position now as far as his championship positions are concerned. It won't change now. possibly actually retire from the race altogether, and with the way the drops work, he could still probably be second in the points, but he'll keep on fighting, I'm sure, Daniel Reason. As I said, made that contact with Bruce Winfield in race number 1, and then Bruce had the audacity to pull exactly the same move on Jason Ballantine in this race. Fantastic stuff from Bruce. Hadn't lost any confidence in the car, had he? He knew he had the speed in the previous race to finish in second place. Wasn't able to do it after the contact in race number 2. Right the way through from 21st to 2nd. We're on to the final lap now then, and Lee Deegan 5.6 seconds clear of them at the front of the field. And he's going to win this championship at this rate by about 63 points then. It's been a pretty dominant championship campaign for Lee Deegan. He'll stick around next year or not, I don't know. I mean, if he does, he'll be tough to beat. If he doesn't, though, then we could be in for an almighty championship back in 2020. Down into the old hairpin. Wayward there for Max Lewis, who's actually still on for a good result here, Max Lewis. One of his better ones of the season, if he doesn't throw it all away like that. Max started second, didn't he? Dropped down towards the tail end of the top 10, but has picked his way back through. Now, Jason Ballantine, I thought, was beached in the gravel, but no, he has been able to continue. So he's actually in 10th position, is Ballantine. It's not going to make any difference for the points, but he's back into the top 10 despite what happened, and he's actually a million miles behind this group of cars, but he's not going to get there in time, of course. Lee Deegan, though, has, well, one more chicane, one more back marker to contend with, then he will be a race winner once again. A double race victory, not for the first time he's done that this year. A dominant performance for Lee Deegan. He is your champion already, and he seals the deal in perfect fashion. But Bruce Winfield, for me, the driver of the race, from 21st on the grid to 2nd, and with laps to spare, actually, he got into that 2nd place. Alistair Camp is 3rd, 4th for Daniel Reason. That should be enough for 2nd in the championship. Max Lewis was 5th, 6th place for Ben Sharp, and 7th for Paul Taylor, 8th Alex Nicolao, 9th for David Buki after that turn 1 off, and rounding out the top 10, Jason Ballantine, who has 1 or 2 stories to tell, I think, from that race. May even fancy a chat with David Buki, with whom he finished almost nose to tail with, actually, at the end of the race, but they were very much nose to tail into the first corner. It looked like contact between the two that allowed Ballantine through and put Buki off the road. 11th place then was Damien Harris, 12th place for George Alp Williams. Ollie Barsby was 13th, 14th place was Paul McHugh, and 15th, yeah, here they come, comes Mike Ballantine. I thought there were a few more that were due to come through. Mike Ballantine in 15th, 16th place for Terry Taylor, and that was it for lead lap cars. 17th and 1 lap down was Sam Linsner, 18th for Rick Shortall, and at 19th place for Alex Rose, and that was the last of finishers. A brilliant race all round this weekend and this season, indeed, from the Civic Cup. It may have been a pretty dominant championship performance from Lee Deegan, but he hasn't really had it all his own way. And these reverse grid races guarantee that you'll get some overtaking from even the most dominant of championship contenders. They're always going to be forced to start from back in the pack, and anything can happen, as we saw, particularly given how close the racing is in this championship. So time and again, Lee has been able to just pick his way through and staying out of trouble, not getting involved in any unnecessary contact. He's just sort of been the master of picking his way through the field, and usually very, very quickly. Good starts help. And he is good off the line, he always has been. Back when he was racing in minis, that was also the case. And yeah, he was a very worthy champion this year, was Lee Deegan.
Might be a throwback to short oval racing, because if you're world champion in short ovals, you have a gold
pit lane now with Bruce Winfield, well, in 2nd. He's actually dropped behind Ali Campbell.
Session in car number 84, we will see Ryan Elliott out first, and number 11 will be Will Horton. And then the second part of this first taster session, Theo Bicoris will drive car 84.
Chat to Bryn Lucas, the full Fiesta Junior heading out the circuit. So they'll be having a taster session now for the Fiesta Junior Championship. We'll stick with the while and have a chat with our podium runners, and if we can grab Daniel Reason, that would be even better, because he's been put through the ringer today with championship having been decided in the favour of Deegan before we even arrived at Donington Park. Really, all eyes have been on Daniel as he tried to retain this second place. We expected him after the first race to have contact with Bryn Winfield, and there was no penalty given. It was decided it was a fair move, fair battle. In that one, he was able to stay out of trouble when it was all kicking off around him, and still retain what was a very solid 4th place finish, not bad from 9th on the grid, and more importantly, scored him enough points to hang on to 2nd place in the championship in the end by a decent way, actually. 18 points was the cushion after Ballantine ended up off the road and dropping down to 10th place. Bryn Winfield will be 4th in the championship with Daniel Hobson 5th, and I don't know why Hobson didn't race in that one, but he'll be ruining it because he probably could have certainly contended for 4th in the championship, maybe even better. So Daniel Hobson, who loses out on that 4th position in the championship by a solitary point to Bryn Winfield. Alistair Camp, with that result, moves up into 6th place as well, ahead of David Buki, which I'd missed. So David Buki will not be particularly pleased about the way the first corner went for him. And then Paul Taylor, Morgan Bailey and Lewis Rose round out the top 10 in the points. So there was a very competitive pair of races for the Civic Cup this weekend. And down with our podium finishers once more is Bryn.
Well, from 9th to 1st, is there any stopping this man? Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Not as easy as the first one, but I really wanted that. I really wanted to finish 2019 with a bang. So
It's about time you let some other people play, though, isn't it?
well, they're playing, they're trying, and I'm just trying 110%. I never settle for second. I want to win every race. I don't think any driver wants to come out there and come second. Everyone wants to win, but yeah, the lads and everyone in the team have put in such an effort this year. That one's for them. So
when we look at conditions, it is dry, but the temperature has really, really dropped. Does that affect you when you're out on track? Can you feel the differences?
yeah, I think the tyres behave a little bit differently. Normally we're quicker from the word go, whereas in the middle of the race, I think, was when I put my fastest lap in. So the tyres took a long time to heat up. Again, the brakes as well. My brakes on the first few laps were a little bit hit and miss, so had to do a few ballsy moves, but they paid off. And the first few laps is what made the race, really.
It was a very impressive race to watch from the outside. I mean, at one stage you put in a lap time that was about almost 2 seconds quicker than the second place driver, and we thought, okay, just the gap opened immediately.
Yeah, the lads on the team on the pit board were showing me my times, and they put a T out, which means that I've lost the fastest lap, so go for it. So that was probably the lap you're on about, where I just really made sure I clip every apex and smooth gear changes, and yeah, go for it.
It was really good. Well done. Congratulations. What a day as well.
Thank you. Cheers.
And let's bring in our second place driver here as well. So Bryn Winfield is here. Now, that was pretty impressive. 21st, I think I had you down as starting on the grid.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it was, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's quite far back though. After a DNF in the first race, which wasn't ideal, but yeah, good race.
I mean, a good race. You had to fight your way through, though.
Yeah, definitely. A couple of weeks ago at Silverstone, a few weeks ago back at Silverstone, I ended up having a DNF in the first race there as well. So I started 19th on the grid there, come up to 3rd. 20th, 21st, whatever it was, up to 2nd.
Well, I was looking at lap times, and you were pretty close as well at one stage, and then of course it's amazing you can get that close when you start that far back and you have to fight your way through. So you must be pretty happy.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things that helps is obviously the guys up the front battling. With obviously like Lee and the guys who finished on the podium in the first race, they're trying to fight their way through as well. So that kind of helps a little bit. They're all battling with each other, so it enables you to catch up a little bit.
And then you get the confidence. You pick somebody off. You get the confidence to move on for the next, and before you know it, you got second place.
Yeah, well, I think with the lap times after the first race, my lap times were there. I didn't quite get fastest lap, but wasn't far off it. So that's obviously a confidence boost. So I know I was a good chunk faster than quite a lot of the guys in front, which enables you to get past them a little bit easier. But yeah, they don't make it easy for you though.
It's fantastic. Well done.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Well done. Good stuff. There you go. So we've spoken to the first two. We haven't got our third place here at the moment, but we've got a bit of quietness. Just listen to that. Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? So we're going to enjoy the peace and quiet for about 15 minutes. We'll be back here on the live stream for the final round. We've got the Track Attack Nippon Challenge coming up in around 15 minutes' time. So if you want to watch that, make sure you tune back in 15 minutes from now. But until then, I think we're going to be looking at the Fiesta Juniors going around the track here at Donington Park as well. Drivers from the future, a lot of them Not from the future, for the future. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Drivers for the future. A lot of them going from karting into these Fiestas. We'll see how well they do out on track, so keep your eyes on this. Okay, I think...
Yeah, thanks. Well, as Bryn said, we've looked into the future and we've predicted who the stars of motor racing are going to be in the next 5-10 years. And we put a couple of them in Ford Fiestas to drive around the Donington Park National Circuit this afternoon. This is the Ford Fiesta Junior taster session. It's one of two that are taking place today. It's the only one that will be showing any coverage of. But essentially what this is, it's a Ford Fiesta Junior Championship, first of all, is reasonably long-running proven platform for young drivers that the BRSCC have been running for several seasons now, for drivers between 14 and 17 years old, I believe, and it is a more cost-effective way of going junior motor racing, essentially, and perhaps, for example, going racing in things like Nettas, which, whilst the cars are not spectacular and racing equally so, it requires basically a remortgage of the house just to get into one of those cars, whereas these Fiesta Junior cars are a little more affordable. You can pick up one of these cars, a second-hand car, for about £6 grand-ish, at a push, maybe a little bit more than that. Your helmet and everything else, maybe just under £1,000. A junior racing membership is only £75, I believe, and the championship registration about £400. Race entries, etc., all get added on. But really, actually, that's a fairly cheap, but like I say, cost-effective way of going motor racing. The cars themselves are Mark 6 Ford Fiesta ST150s, built any time in the mid-noughties, basically, 2004 onwards. They run with a 2-litre Duratec Ford engine, a Mountune ECU, with proper race-worthy suspension. They are proper bits of kit, these. They may be produced from road cars, but they are very nippy, actually. They're limited, of course, in speed, being a junior category, but one of the big benefits of these cars is that you can race for a few years as a junior in them and then make a fairly seamless transition over into the Fiesta Senior Championship, which also runs with the BRSCC, always running on the same race meetings as well. So you can take exactly the same car through your racing career for maybe the first 6 or 7 years of your racing career. And those cars that compete in the Fiesta Senior Championship have proven to be very popular over the years as well. Many a driver has made that jump and taken their car with them, and the teams also tend to operate cars across both of the championships. So teams like Jam Sport, for example, going in operation, that has been a success in both categories in the past. So these are drivers that do not currently race in the Fiesta Junior Championship, but are looking to do so perhaps tomorrow, next year. I'm sure they would like to race tomorrow because they're all very eager to get out there, and we had a very successful taster session at Brands Hatch earlier on this year at the TCR UK meeting, which saw a handful of these youngsters get out there and many get their first experience of racing, driving on a actual live racetrack, and that's what they are once again getting a chance to do now today at Donington Park. As you can see, they're not really hanging around particularly. These are the actual cars that we've seen being raced in the Fiesta Junior Championship as well. So current spec cars and being run by top teams. And, the number 11 version that we're seeing here is being pedalled pretty nicely, actually. It's got to be said. Nice line through Redgate Corner and off down the Grainer curves. This must be a real experience, this. Bear in mind that up until right now, this driver most likely has never driven on an actual race circuit in real life. And here they are, barrelling down the Grainer curves in a Ford Fiesta Junior car. Through the old hairpin and on they go. Well, down in the pit lane with more information on what we're seeing out there on the track, I think, is Bryn. Bryn, who have you found?
Oh, it's all right.
Well, I'm here with one of the drivers that's giving a bit of a tester here at Donington Park in the Fiesta. Have you driven this sort of car before?
No, I've only driven a Mini, and that was at road speed, so I haven't driven anything like this before.
Okay, now, first of all, introduce yourself, because we can't see you. So who are you?
I'm Theo McCurris. I normally race go-karts, but I don't know, I'm hoping to get into cars.
So you want to go tin tops, you want to go into normal car racing, I suppose?
Yeah, we don't know yet. We've got lots of options, but I don't know, we'll see where we can go, really.
And what do you love so much about racing? What's your ultimate ambition?
I don't know, really, just the thrill of going fast and overtaking a lot, but yeah, I don't know, really.
So you've come here to Donington Park to sit in a Fiesta, take it out on track and see just what it's like behind the wheel. Do you get some coaching when you're out there?
Yeah, you have a person sitting next to you, sort of guiding you, but yeah, they don't do any driving for you, but yeah.
And what are you expecting to get from this? Just whether or not you like it or you don't like it, whether you're good at it, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's it, really.
Okay. So ultimately, if it goes well today, are we likely to see you in a Fiesta Junior car in the championships next year?
I have no idea so far. We don't know what's going to happen.
Well, go out there and enjoy it, okay?
Thank you.
There we go, a little idea of what it's like here for these drivers testing these Fiestas for the very first time at Donington Park. Andy, back to you.
I'm quite jealous now. Can I have a go? I may not quite fit the age bracket required, but they are having the time of their lives out there by the looks of it. Now, this is the car that's driven by Joseph Loke in the Fiesta Junior Championship, so there are a couple of cars out there at the moment. And this one, if anything, looks like it's going even quicker. This isn't being timed, this section, I must stress, because someone thankfully realised that wasn't the best of ideas. But they, as you can see, this car being really wrestled. Oh, that's it. A bit of air under the right rear tyre, three-wheeling it through Redgate Corner. And this is, well, who knows, maybe drivers that we'll see on the Fiesta Junior grid next year, and Fiesta Junior Championship, which has struggled for numbers on occasion in recent years, but this is a great initiative by the BRSCC to try and do something about that, and to try and get a few new drivers, a few new names onto the grid for 2020. You can see there some of the directions being given. Even just something as simple as how to pull into the pit lane is just not something that these drivers will probably have had to do before. And all of these things are just as important actually as how quickly you go around the racetrack. Through Coppice then comes the number 84 car. And will this one be pulling in as well soon? Not too sure. This was only supposed to be a 15-minute session, and there are a few drivers to give a go to, so may well be that we see this car peel into the pits. It's certainly slowed down a bit through the chicane this time, hasn't it? So yeah, I think it is doing. But yeah, but things like this were around when I were a lad, because it's far more accessible now, motor racing. And I'm not talking about karting, I'm talking about actual car racing. It's a lot more accessible now than it ever used to be. And that can only be a good thing, because we need to try and encourage the next generation of motor racing superstars to come out and give it a go. And whilst karting is one viable option, it can be fairly expensive and doesn't suit everybody, of course. There are a lot of drivers out there who don't particularly gel with karting and want to instead make the step straight into proper car racing, and so that's something that's definitely easier to do these days than it was even as recently as about 10 years ago or so. So for now, no Fiestas on the track. I think that might be the end of the session, but nice to see these taster sessions once again generating good interest. We we're believing there are still some more. We're going to have a driver change now and send out the next couple of lucky youngsters to have a go at the Donington Park National Circuit. In the meantime, we can head down with Bryn, who's back in the pit lane.
Well, I've got another driver here. Will Orton just got out of the car and we've grabbed him for a word. So first of all, Will, welcome.
Hi.
And you're here at Donington Park. Have you raced around Donington Park before?
No, I've never raced.
Have you been to Donington Park before?
Yeah, watched once.
Okay, yeah. That's cool. So what's it like being out on track on a circuit that you've watched people race on?
Mega. It is really good, yeah.
So you're karting more, is that right?
Yeah. So
tell me a little bit about your karting career.
So I started when I was 6 and then did Bambino and Cadet And this year I've been racing the IAMA Euro Series and the British Championship in Rock. Won the British Championship, so that got me a ticket to Lenato to the World Finals. And yeah, that went good. Yeah.
Went good, and you're here in Donington Park. So what's it like getting inside a slightly different car? Because you're used to karts, all exposed, open to the elements, and now you get in a car like one of those little Fiestas there. But they do an half move, don't they?
Yeah, they're really good. I really enjoyed it.
What in particular?
It was different to the car. Like when you turn in, it goes, and the brakes are a lot better. Because obviously it's got front brakes, so that was a lot better. Yeah.
Also a very different driving style. Your position in the car totally different as well. Stuck over to one side as opposed to in the middle.
Obviously that takes a bit of getting used to because you need to learn how wide your car is. But I feel like I did it all right.
What did the driver coach say to you?
About tucking in the front end, so turning earlier. Yeah, but it all went really well.
So that's the difference of karting. With karting, you can flick the car into corners. These things you have to be a bit more gentle and you have to push it where you want it.
You got to ease the steering in, and yeah, so a bit different.
You enjoyed it though, ultimately?
Yeah, definitely.
Are we going to see you out in a Fiesta Junior next year, or are we going to stay in karts? What's the plan?
Definitely car racing. Hopefully Fiestas if they get a good grid. But yeah, it's all about the grid.
It certainly is. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
There you go, Will Orton. He gave it a whirl, loved it, and hopefully we'll see him out in one of these cars next year. We'll have to wait and see. But there you go. Back to you, Andy.
Thank you. Well, that was a actually really interesting insight into the sort of conversations that were going on in the cars and the advice being given by the instructors. And yeah, they've been very lucky indeed to have this opportunity, and hopefully we will see them out there. Of course, the mentioned there the grid sizes. This, of course, is the entire point of these taster sessions, because we want to try and encourage a few more people out in the championship next year, possibly with another prospective new entrant for next year's championship. Once again, down in the pit lane is Bryn Lucas.
Well, I'm speaking to not somebody getting in the car racing, but Laura Payne is going to tell us all about it. So, Laura, welcome. Thanks for having a chat with us. It's starting to rain. Why have you brought the rain?
Oh, I wish it wasn't raining. Where's the sun gone?
It's a good turnout. Looking over there, lots of aspiring young drivers.
There is, yeah. We've got 7 here today. We had 8 at Brands Hatch a few months ago, so we're doing really well, yeah. Really.
And we've spoken to a couple of the young drivers over there that are saying they're not sure whether they're going to go into this, but they've all loved the car so far.
They have loved the car so far, so I'm really, really happy. It's a fantastic championship to drive in, and I think they've recognised that today.
Tell us a bit about
so we run alongside the senior championship. We've been for quite a few years with a really good success rate. The cars are a fantastic spec. The junior cars have got more safety regulations than the senior cars. Yeah.
So it's safe, it's fun, it's frenetic, and we see a lot of the drivers actually progress on. We've seen some of the drivers going into Ginetta and into other forms of racing as well, but mostly tin top.
Yeah, we've got Josh Steed in the GT5 at the moment. We've got some in the Mini Challenge, and in the past we've had people like Bobby Thompson and Aidan Moffat, so we're really pleased with our past drivers.
Great stuff. Well, look, it's about to absolutely drop itself onto us, so I'll let you get into the dry.
Thank you.
There you go. I'm going to get into the dry, thanks, Andy. Are you in the warm? I'm sure you are.
Oh, I've been lovely and toasty all day, Bryn. Yes, thank you. It's one of the perks of my job. I don't have to. I envy you when it's 30 degrees and cracking the flags, but on a day like this, I think I'm quite happy in my little box. Thank you. Well, that's that taster session done with. I think probably just in time, because the heavens have absolutely opened now. Just in time for our final race of the day, and this is the second and final race of the weekend, of course, for the Track Attack Nippon Challenge, the Tricolore Trophy, and the Multi-Mark Series, for which I've been given an ended grid. And, I'll be able to run you through all the details of that after. In fact, I tell you why, we still do have Ford Fiestas pounding around the track, so the taster session still ongoing. Now, this will be an experience, won't it? It's one thing to drive this place in the dry, but entirely another to run around here in these treacherous conditions. But that's exactly what the Track Attack drivers will have to do very shortly. A big grid of cars, as we said, and we saw how lively the first race got, so throw in a sprinkle of water, possibly more than a sprinkle actually, and we could have an even more lively, particularly first few laps, as they will try and sort of find their feet. So as the heavens open, wind picks up, the solitary spectator that's braved these conditions. Well, I say braved these conditions, they're sat in their car at the moment watching on, but thankfully they've stuck around for the final race of the weekend. And we'll be bringing that to you very, very shortly. Just how slippery it's getting out at the far end of the track. There's a bit of water starting, the spray starting to come up from behind the cars now. A view of the Donington Park circuit, actually, you can really see the elevation change. The building at the top there, you could see, was the building that we're based in on the pit straight. You can see how much higher up that is than this camera that's up at McLean's, and that's not even the lowest part of the track. The old hairpin is right down in a hollow, and you can see why when it does rain, standing water is sometimes an issue, because it's pretty slopey, this place, and so the water runs from one side of the road to the other. You get these rivers of standing water across the track, and that can make life very treacherous. We saw that yesterday, actually, in the BRSCC Club Sport Trophy race that we had yesterday evening, and that was a very, very wet race indeed. It was a good race, with lots of stuff going on, of course, but yeah, the Donington Park circuit, one of the most treacherous when the conditions are a little bit inclement, but these Fiesta drivers just taking things a little bit more easily now on their, what I presume is their in-lap at the end of the session. So they will vacate the track, and we'll be able to get our cars on the grid for the final race of this BRSCC finals weekend. And a great weekend it's been. We've crowned some fantastic champions, and some first-time champions, some repeat champions. James Turkington has wrapped up the TCR UK Championship provisionally as well in a thrilling championship finale, and we now can put the calculators away, because for the Track Attack Nippon Challenge, this is a series of races, not a championship, no points being scored, and we will have the final race. I think it is their final race of the season as well very shortly. This will see a resumption of some of the battling that we saw in the first race. It was a topsy-turvy first race, which saw Richard Hockley come out on top from Tony Hunter and Jamie Anderson. For a while, though, it was a Honda Civic 1-2-3. Phil Wright, though, faded a little bit. The Clios started to come forward, and in particular David Baldwin, who went off down the old hairpin on the opening lap, and then was able to work his way back through the field, and actually briefly got himself into a podium position, ended up coming home in fourth in the end. The first person outside of the podium places, but with a whole load of different classes. You sort of it's very much serious, caters for everyone, really. Generally speaking, they're all hot hatches, but we have the Mazda RX-5s. The Mazda RX-8 ran really well, actually, in the previous race. Clive Hainsford came through from pretty much the back of the grid to finish in 7th position, and the Subaru Impreza of Robbie Durant should be interesting in this one. Four-wheel drive, that Subaru. So it ought to be arguably the pace setter, you'd imagine, if it's a bit slick out there, which it definitely seems to be, although I think the rain is easing slightly now. It's passed through. It is quite windy out there today. It has been, although actually, I say that, it seems to have calmed down a little bit now in the last half an hour or so. Hopefully no more rain, though. Let's see if this track can start drying out, and maybe over our final race. So that race will be coming up in a moment or two. The cars will be leaving the assembly area very shortly, and heading out onto the grid for our final 15-minute race of the weekend.
There's anything wrong with the car. So Tony Hunter's Clio is not there, nor is Clive Hainsford's Mazda RX-8, so no multi-marks, in other words. This is the only multi-mark centre here. So missing a couple of cars there. Turn the programme to page 21. You can feel the grid for this race. We'll give you the grid now. Front row should have been 111 Richard Hockley, and the number 1 Tony Hunter with his grid based on the results of race 1. But no Tony Hunter, so Scott Richard Hockley will start there alone in pit 1. The second row, 15 of Jamie Anderson, and number 50 Dave Baldwin is there, both there, 15-50 on row 2. The third row is a 4C6 Gwyneth and should have been 52 5 36 not out. So number 15, number 14 rather than Gwyneth starts third.
So the final race then of the weekend here at Donington. Thank you everyone who has stuck around to the end of the day watching the live stream. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. We've seen some fantastic racing, and I promise you that we'll reward you now. We'll reward you sticking around to the end of the day with what should be another cracking encounter from the Track Attack Nippon Challenge, the Tricolore Trophy and the Multi-Marque Series as well. Cars gridding up now ahead of this 15-minute race. And already out of the window, I can see we're missing a couple. You'll be able to see possibly through the very blurry rain-struck camera at Redgate Corner. We're missing one of our front row drivers, unfortunately. Tony Hunter in the very rapid Renault Clio is not there. There may be one or two others at the back who have elected maybe not to take the start since the conditions have deteriorated rather. Although I think the rain has stopped now, more or less, so the track shouldn't get any wetter. Richard Hockley is there, though, on pole position. Tony Hunter should have been second, but doesn't look like he will be. Jamie Anderson is third, yeah, he's there, and David Baldwin is there, the blue and white number 50 Renault Clio, but then there's another gap on the next row. Nick Gwinnett's there, but Phil Wright's Honda Civic is not. And then looking further down the order, I think everybody else is there, so we're just missing a couple of the top 10 drivers, or top 5 drivers actually, but there's still plenty of potential race winners in this crowd, and it should be a good race, this one. At the Subaru that I mentioned a moment or two ago of Robbie Durant starts 10th, and that essentially now becomes 8th with a couple of cars that have disappeared earlier on, further in the order. And I've been notified now that we will have 2 green flag laps because of the change of conditions. So thank you, Dave Chapman, then, who's been my unofficial spotter and calculator today. No calculations required for this one, though. This has been a nice. This will just be a good race to end the weekend on. No points permutations to get too bogged down with, and an entertaining 15 minutes of action ahead of us. Then the cars head out onto the green flag lap. And I will run you through the grid. It'll take me probably most of 2 laps to get through the 27 cars that will be taking to the track. On the front row then should have been Richard Hockley in his Honda Civic with Tony Hunter's Renault Clio, but the Clio is not there, and I can't see it at the back of the grid either. Row 2 for Jamie Anderson and David Baldwin, another Civic Clio combination, and then Nick Gwinnett on his own on row 3 with Phil Wright's Honda Civic not being there, so it was all about Civics and Clios in the top 6, but we've lost one of each of those cars for this second race. Then Clive Hainsford in the Mazda RX-8, who started well down the order in race 1, came through to finish in 7th position. He's got Andy Neal in his Peugeot 106 Rally alongside him, except I can't see Hainsford either, actually. So that's maybe another driver that's not taking the start. Alfie Jones, I think, is there in the Honda Civic, in 9th on the grid. And Robbie Durant in the Subaru Impreza rounds out the top 10. Kelly Brabin in the Toyota Celica is next, ahead of Josh Bennett in the Renault Clio, the Class E winner by a fairly dominant margin in the previous race. Andrew Mitchell in a 205 GTI is next, ahead of Kevin Middleton in the Mark 1 Mazda MX-5. Then the Class F cars, David Mycock and Paul Rice, the top 2 in that category. Mycock getting the win, and he will therefore start 15th and on pole position in class. Then it's the GT150 class top 2, Aaron Budding and Sean Kite in a pair of Mazda MX-5s, Budding in a Mark 3 example, and a Mark 1 car of Sean Kite that was ahead for most of the race but lost out in the latter stages. Then on the 10th row, Daniel Perry and Kevin Porter, with a couple of those Class F Peugeot 206 GTI Cup cars, and then a couple of GT150s, Matt Mitter and Nick Glover, Hyundai Coupe and Mazda MX-5 respectively. Then it's Charlie Bingham and Ewan McGuinness, Craig Walker and Stefan Oates, all of them in Class F Peugeots. And then you get into the ones that didn't finish the previous race. Now, not all of them are listed on the grid sheet, so I think a few of them may be confirmed non-starters. If I know there was only one non-finisher, wasn't there? Excuse me, which was Tony Markham, who I think is out there, and he's got Stephen Oates alongside him at the back, as I said, in his Peugeot. So various different classes to keep up to date with here as well. The top 3 in the first race were all in their own classes, though. GT300 Class A, GT250, they were all class winners. Class MM only had one entrant, which was Clive Hainsford, who, as I said, I don't think is out there now. The closest of the class battles are likely to come from, well, possibly Class A, because that's a class made up of the Renault Clios that are at the front of the field. That's part of the Tricolore Trophy. And the Class F cars, which are the Peugeot 206 GTIs. So those classes, I think, should be the closest racing that we see as far as of significance within class results. But one of the great things about this series is the intermingling of the various classes. And the fact that cars that compete in different classes and have different power to weight ratios, etc., actually, particularly in the wet, can compete against each other fairly close. So rain's still coming down on McLean's, isn't it? You can see that on the camera. It's getting very dark and gloomy now out there. And, hear the rain actually there coming down on our poor camera operator at Coppice Corner. We've got to stay out there for 15 more minutes, guys. This is the last race of the day. There are even spectators who have stayed out, I think, somewhere. They're hiding maybe, but there are still people here this weekend braving the conditions. But if you're a motorsport enthusiast in the UK and you're willing to come to a racetrack in October, you have to expect to get a bit damp at one point or another. We've actually been remarkably lucky with weather this weekend. It rained yesterday at about this sort of time, actually the same on Friday, but generally speaking, most of the rain has been overnight. So whilst the track has spent a lot of time being a bit damp and greasy, it's not usually been through actual rainfall during the races, and that's been definitely a good thing, because drivers would drive content with a wet but drying track than a track that goes the other way. So this one may only start to get soggier as we get through 15 minutes. They're making their way then into the chicane on the green flag lap. And Richard Hockley in the Honda Civic got a good start in race one, but now with the conditions changing, is he still going to have the same sort of speed that he had earlier on this afternoon? There is Hockley then, the dark blue number 111 car on the Civic. You can see we've got groove tyres anyway, they don't roll slip tyres in this series. See the race going forward there. Empty space alongside him where Tony Hunter should be, and then we do have a complete row 2, which is Jamie Anderson and David Baldwin. Row 3 appears to vanish now as well, though. Where did they go? Because where we should have those cars, hang on. Carnham 95 started with the pit lane, there we go. Someone's paying attention. So, still doesn't entirely explain where the third row has gone, because the third row should be Nick Gwinnett in the number 14 Renault Clio and the 31 Honda Civic Field right. And there's Hainsford. So Hainsford was due to line up on row 7. And also, the 95 Peugeot, as Dave just told me, that was Andrew Mitchell. But the third row has vanished since the start of the green flag lap. Because they were there when they left, so they've got lost somewhere. Anyway, the rest of them are about to go racing because the red lights go out, they're away, and Richard Hockley from pole position gets another decent getaway. So too rapidly away is David Baldwin, and actually he's going to challenge for the lead into Redgate Corner in the blue Clio on the outside line. We turn into the right-hander, a good start as we expect from Robbie Durant in the Subaru as well, with four-wheel drive traction propelling him towards the first corner. Side-by-side for the Class F lead as well there between the Peugeots, and I think that David Mycock has lost out to Paul Rice, but we'll confirm that in a moment or two. It's Hockley, though, that's retained the lead. Second place for Baldwin. Third position, then, is Jamie Anderson, by the looks of it. Fourth place for Durant. So Durant really could be unstoppable here if he gets that Subaru hooked up. Already gained several positions. Granted, a lot of drivers in front of him didn't take the start where they should have done, but nonetheless, he's driven well there for the first sequence of corners. There is Paul Rice, and he is now ahead, I think, of the rest of the Class F runners. Side-by-side action up the hill. Peugeot 106 rally of Andy Neal, that was ducking out of line, trying to find a way past Kelly Brabham, who has gone with Robbie Durant, actually. Those two were 11th and 10th, respectively. And they're now 5th and 4th. So they have, in tandem, sort of picked their way through the order in the early stages. But Hockley getting away here with Baldwin not really able to go with. Not surprising, really, that Baldwin's being a bit tentative here in the early stages, because when it was dry, he suffered from a lack of rear tyre temperature and had a huge slide down the crane curves. side by side behind. Look, grabbing under increased pressure from Andy Neal. He gets to the inside through the chicane, but now we start to see that the grip is not necessarily on the inside line. It's you have to take these karting lines around the outside, particularly through places like Redgate and McLean's and Coppice. That's where you'll find more traction off the more well-used racing line. Side by side still between Brabin and Neal. Neal, again, he's got the inside line, which looks great on the way in, but then the traction that the Sleeker should get on the outside line will propel it ahead through Hollywood. And indeed it did. We've had a change for third and two. Robbie Durant has now picked away past the Jamie Anderson Honda Civic, which he actually did just before the start-finish line. So the Subaru is now into podium place. Here come the Class F runners, and what order were they in? Yeah, it was Perry ahead of Mycock, and he's now putting a Mazda MX-5 between the two of them. In fact, not for long though, because Mycock gets back ahead of him. So the Peugeot has both Peugeots actually gaining a place. That was Middleton, the number 7 now X5, Kevin Middleton, that was losing ground there. Here was Clive Hainsford, and he's leading the pit lane starter brigade. The yellow and red RX-8. Interesting choice to start from the pit lane. I think maybe he was doing it to try and stay out of trouble in the early stages, but of course he very quickly come across the midfield runners anyway, so it's not really saved him a huge amount of risky situations. He's picking his way now past Mycock in the second place Peugeot. The next target will be Paul Rice, 26, 42, that was close, 42 for Paul Rice, who is leading Class F. The rest of the Class F runners not far behind. Number 22 is Aaron Budding, who won the GT 150 class in race number 1. Is he winning it again in race number 2? He is not actually. GT 250 is being led by... Oh no, he is now. He actually just found a way past Middleton, who was leading the class, Kevin Middleton, in the Mark 1 MX-5. The timing screen now updates itself. The timing screen that confused me is telling me the race is finished, and yet also still has 11 minutes remaining. So I think the fact that the cars are still pounding around at high speed tells me the race hasn't finished yet. The gap, it does tell me, is 2.2 seconds. Hockley getting away from Baldwin now. With Durant third, Anderson fourth, Brabin up into fifth. So lots of movers and shakers here in the early stages. But once again, as in race 1, it's the Class F battle between the Peugeots that is attracting most of the attention. Perry only 0.3 of a second up at the start of the lap. That's another one of the Class F runners, the 108 car of Charlie Bingham, who was given a 5-second track limits penalty previous race. So too was Stefan Oates as well. That dropped him right to the back of the field. Track limits a hot topic here at Donington Park, although perhaps less so in the wet conditions, because going wide onto those curbs and certainly onto the grass is sort of self-penalising really, because there's not much grip out there. So Robbie Durant then, what sort of lap times is he doing? His last one was a 38.1, which was faster than the leader, so he was catching the top two. Is that still the case on this lap though? I think maybe the answer is no, because Richard Hockley does 1:35.8, Baldwin a 35.5, and yeah, Durant the slowest of the three this time, a 36.3. But he is still quicker than Jamie Anderson behind, and indeed Brabin as well in the Celica, the other one on the move, very much so. In fact, the fastest car on the track right now is Clive Hainsford, who's just set the fastest lap last time around, 1:33.093. So the yellow RX-8 is into 9th place already. So it's already got its way almost up to where it finished the previous race. It finished 7th. It was due to therefore start 7th on the grid for this one. So almost back up to where it needs to be, ought to be, within the space of the first 3.5 laps. So how much further up the order can the RX-8 get? That's the question. Might not be able to get onto the overall podium, but Hainsford, who's already guaranteed a class win by being the only entrant in his class, will want to try and get maybe into the overall top 5 if possible. There is a gap, there's a distinct gap between the top 5 and then everybody else. It's about a 4.5 second gap between Brabin and Andy Neal in the Peugeot. There you can see Hainsford in the background, so he's already gapping the cars behind and starting to reel in this group in front. So we'll keep monitoring the lap times then, with 8 3/4 minutes still to go. Headlights on for all cars as well, the gloominess of the conditions, not so much so that they can see where they're going, but so that everyone else can see where they are. But now, one of these cars getting particularly close to each other, everyone being reasonably tense, I think, with the conditions as they are. So Hockley leads away by 1.19 this time, so the gap does come down by about 3/4 of a second. That time, Baldwin, who was the quickest of the leading three. So, top three now coming by 3.2 seconds, a further 1.6 back to Jamie Anderson, who's in the 35, so he can't keep up with them at the moment. There's Robbie Durant, who did a 34.9 last time around, was slower than Baldwin, but did manage to take about half a second out of the race leader. Subaru completely at odds really with everything else out there. The majority of the field made up of these short wheelbase Japanese or European hot hatchbacks, and then you've got the Subaru, which looks a little bit large and cumbersome compared to some of the other cars out there, but he's doing the job in these conditions. Side-by-side battle there, another place being lost, I'm afraid, for Kevin Middleton. And that was the Peugeot, 95 Peugeot going through. Started from the pit lane, remember, and that was overtake for 16th place overall, and they are running in different classes at the moment. Andrew Mitchell, in fact, won his class, won Class B in the previous race. Probably will do again, actually, because there's no other Class B cars out there, so the Peugeot gaining overall positions, but not class positions. The Class F battle, is that as close as it was in the previous race? Well, it is between... We've had a change of lead, in fact, now, because Mycock's gone back ahead, so we have had a change for the Class F Peugeot lead, if you like, for the 206 GTI Cup. So, 96 David Mycock ahead now, Paul Rice, as it was in race 1, but Rice had been ahead for the first half of this one. Right, the lead gap is now down under a second, so David Baldwin has found a bit of speed over the last few laps. He's getting away now from Durant, who was the slowest of the three once again on that occasion, so it's becoming a bit of a two-horse race now between the Honda and the Clio, and it is the second place car, number 50 of Baldwin, that already leads in Class A, and he's now starting to become a bit more of a menacing vision in the mirrors of the race-leading Civic. Richard Hockley, very experienced Civic racer. In fact, if memory serves, he used to race in the Dislok Civic Cup in that shape of Honda. I don't know if it's exactly the same car because it's got a new livery now, but the older generation of Honda Civic that Richard Hockley used to favour, he still does now, but races not in a one-make championship, which is something very different. It's still a great success. There is Robbie Durant in third position, but the leaders are almost as one now. And where does the move come from for David Baldwin? It might even happen down the back straight because that Clio's got some legs in a straight line, hasn't it? And he's looking to the inside, he's late on the brakes, and I think he's going to take the lead away here from Richard Hockley. And he does. Well, that was remarkably easy. He caught, he pulled alongside, he overtook, and now can he pull away from Richard Hockley? That will be the plan, no doubt. Across the line they go. And the gap then now, half a second in Baldwin's favour. They hit the brakes then into Redgate Corner. It's all getting quite lively for fourth place as well. Now it's getting dry. They're starting to gain some confidence, but that is Clive Hainsford. He could yet win the race because he's still the fastest driver on the track. Well, more or less. He's on a par almost exactly with the new race leader Baldwin, who just set a personal best lap on that lap with the overtake made for the lead. He did a 33.0, but Hainsford also did a 33.0. They were the only two drivers in the 133s, so that yellow Mazda, here it comes, can expand to a podium place by the end of this lap even, the rate at which it's catching Durant. He was 1.7 seconds quicker than the Subaru last time around, so despite the fact we were sort of tipping the Subaru to be one of the favourites in this race, and it is having a better race this time than it did earlier on this afternoon. But even in the wet, it's no match for that very rapid Mazda RX-8, which, had it not started from the pit lane, probably would have been miles ahead already by this point. So, from a neutral point of view, good decision that from Hainsford to start from the pits. Hockley, sort of staying with Morgan, isn't he? He's within a second or so, but the Clio does seem to have the legs on him down the exhibition straight where the overtake was made a lap ago. Feeling the need to drive down the middle of the road there into the braking zone. I'm not entirely sure why, because I don't think Rich Hockley was going to try and come through from that far back. That's where Rick might be with the braking. Across the line they go. Traffic in front, that's Ewan McGuinness, in the Class F Peugeot, and the lead gap, it's still only 0.8 of a second. Personal best lap for Hockley, but Hainsford does a 31.7. That's by far and away the fastest lap we've seen so far in this race, and he's into third place now, ahead of Robbie Durant. So Hainsford, can he win it? He's 5.7 seconds off the lead. There are 3 minutes and 25 seconds left on the clock. So if he gets his foot down and doesn't make any mistakes, I think he'll catch them. But will he then be able to overtake them? 4.9 seconds behind Hockley in seconds. This man is his next target. See there, the gap. Also that bit of traffic to be dealt with, and Hainsford wants to go around the outside, but he's a bit tentative in doing so. Mazda, which is probably one of the most powerful cars out there, actually, and rear-wheel drive as well. So you can imagine it's a bit of a handful in the wet. But Clive Hainsford is showing no signs of struggling with it right now. He's continuing to close in, I'd say. Maybe not on this particular lap, but there's more traffic ahead for the leaders, so it's going to start to change around once again. Now, Class F, we have lost Vicom now, I'm afraid. He's dropped down to third, so there's been a moment somewhere for the erstwhile Class F leader. I noticed that because I think that's the Phil that they're about to put a lap on next. So the Class F cars are amongst the next to go a lap down, and now leading the class is the number 28 Peugeot of Daniel Perry, who could only manage third in this morning's race. So changes up and down the order then. Class F once again proving to be one of the most unpredictable classes out there. What about the gaps at the front of the field? Well, Baldwin to Hockley goes up to 2.1 seconds with a personal best lap time for Baldwin of 1:32.7. It wasn't a personal best for Hainsford, but he was only a 10th off his previous best and was still a full second quicker than the leader. So at this rate, he'll be with Hockley by the end of the lap and might just leave himself with a lap to catch and try and pass Baldwin, but that won't be easy. And a lot of it will depend upon how quickly he gets past Richard Hockley when he gets there. But, the extra speed that Hainsford is carrying right now will make it difficult, I think, for Hockley to fend him off. And then heads through the old hairpin, nose to tail now for second though. Hainsford's wasted no time in bringing down that was a 2.5 second gap at the start of the lap. Mazda MX-5's at play now, the Mark III 22 car of Aaron Bunning, side by side with the 72 example. I don't think this one's in the same class, so that's Sean Kite. No, it does, they're both in GT150, so this is the fight for the lead in GT150 at the moment, 12th place overall, and that was a change, I believe, with Kite getting ahead of Bunning, so well, no, he was already ahead. Bunning was trying to get the lead back, but Bunning was in the lead a few laps ago. He now goes back up the inside again into Redgate corner, and can he make that one work? It's going to be close on the exit though, because Kite will have the grippier line. Bunning sideways, really sideways out of Redgate, but still managed to find some purchase and pulls forwards. And is he going to be able to complete the manoeuvre down the Craner curves? I think he will. He's running out of road though. That curve is like ice, stay away from that. And he does go through, but then Kite immediately tries to get back on the inside from the old hairpin. That's not where the grip is though, so he sensibly aborts that attempt. The leaders meanwhile have gone through on what will be the final lap, and we've had the change for second now. Hainsford has got himself ahead of Hockley. In doing so, he was still 1.3 seconds quicker than the leader, but he's 3.4 behind him, but not anymore because there's traffic for David Baldwin. That's the Hyundai Coupe of Matt Mitter, and there's an MX-5 in there as well. Oh, and Baldwin doesn't want to hang around here because you can see Clive Hainsford appearing. Clive Hainsford, I remind you, started from the pit lane and is now, what's that, less than a second behind David Baldwin, the race leader, through the right-hander of McLean's, and over goes one of the Peugeots. That's the 88 car that has rolled of Craig Walker, and that's down at the old hairpin. I think I can see him moving around inside the car. It often looks a bit more spectacular than it actually is from within the car. It's very easy to dig in and go rolling through that gravel trap. So Walker, he's lost the rear windscreen, he's got a bit of damage there to the front of the car, but generally speaking I think should be okay. Yellow flags out at the old hairpin. The leaders though had already gone through that part of the circuit. In fact, they're coming down into the final sequence of corners now, I think. And is it going to be Baldwin or Hainsford? It's going to be Baldwin because Hainsford has gone missing. Where has Clive Hainsford gone? He's gone off somewhere. He must have done it at the final corner. So Baldwin comes through, and I think we'll see the checkered flag, will he not? Because the timing screen's been telling me the checkered flag came out. Oh, there's Hainsford. Hainsford's off of the chicane. He's got it all wrong. Must have tried to get the lead. We'll never know, I suppose, but he must have tried to get the lead away. And, well, the Donington Park circuit has looked prettier, I'm not going to lie. There's grass and mud all over the place down the Craner curves. The red flag's out anyway, but I think the race had finished regardless. So a suitably bizarre way to end the day, that was, and a shame that it ended that way. I'd love to know what happened between Hockley and between Baldwin and Hainsford. That's good news though. Out of the car is Craig Walker, so he's A-OK after that spectacular off down at the old hairpin. A bit shaken, I'm sure. That's Clive Hainsford, who's assessing the damage. The car didn't seem too badly damaged. I think he's just been on the grass down the right-hand side of the road coming into the chicane and hasn't been able to stop. And we saw that earlier on in the dry conditions that was an issue. In the wet, that grass is lethal. So anyway, Richard Hockley doesn't win the race. So David Baldwin wins the race. Richard Hockley re-inherits second place, and Robbie Durant ends up on the podium after all. Jonathan Palmer will be sending Clive Hainsford an invoice for some new turf on the inside of the chicane. Drivers have been nibbling away at that grass all weekend by corner cutting as much as they can get away with, but that has done more damage to the grass actually, I think, than that Mazda, which has, with the exception of a bit of damage to the front splitter, come away from it pretty much scot-free. Well, there you go then. I told you it'd be worth sticking around to the end of the day. That was a fascinating race, and Clive Hainsford very nearly came from the back of the grid to win it, but in the end he binned it on the final corner and has ended up without a trophy to show. Now, we didn't get to speak to the drivers after the first race. We may be able to redress that situation now, I don't know, but if we can, then we'll hopefully be able to piece together exactly what happened. We're going to try and grab the drivers, but they track attack cars tend to head straight back to the paddock rather than through the scrutineering bay, so if we can get Bryn to go and jump around in front of them in the pit lane wearing something bright, they might notice him and pull over for a chat. But Baldwin with the win then, Hockley second, Durant third, fourth place for Anderson, fifth place Brabin, and then we wait for the rest. Well, the rest of them haven't been confirmed yet because the race technically ended under red flag conditions because not everyone had got to the end yet and the red flag flew. This is part of the reason why we had a red flag, because the number 88 car of Craig Walker had inverted itself and then landed back on its wheels. Ah, that's a good sign. One driver stopped to talk to Bryn, so he's not completely friendless down in the pit lane. I don't think Richard Hockley got the message though, but David Baldwin, regardless, should be the winner, and he's the one we want to talk to really, not only because he was the winner, but because he will have had a grandstand view of whatever happened to Clive Hainsford at the final corner. And Baldwin, after having a huge slide in the first race as well, which I wouldn't mind getting his view of, down the Crater curves. He knows exactly how treacherous that part of the circuit can be, but he has come away victorious from the second race, and the helmet's off. Thumbs up to Robbie Durant as he drives by. And I think we can now head down to Bryn for the final time with our final winner of the weekend.
Well, there you go, race win. It looked like at the very, very end you might have a bit of competition on your hands.
Yeah, it was really close. He just come right up really quick, and yeah, I thought he was going to come past, but he left it so late on the brakes. Struggled to avoid him, but just managed in the end.
Is that what it was from your point of view? Just too late on the brakes, and then he...
on the outside, and it was a game of who was going to brake later, and I knew as the latest I could brake, and he did the same, but he just sort of lost the back end on the rubber and spun round. It was close, yeah. And
of course no grip as well, because look out here, it's really, really slimy.
It was so slippy out there. It was just like qualifying this morning. You just had to get real careful and bide your time, really.
Yeah. How was that race for you then, if you could give us a rundown overall?
It was good. Good start. It was just sort of taking the wet lines rather than the dry lines, let other people fall off and not push too hard. Take it steady, bide your time, don't do anything silly, keep it on the track. So yeah.
It's a very good way to end the weekend, a very good way to end your season as well when it comes to the championship.
Yeah, I was pleased, brought the car home in one piece, decent result. That's all I can ask for really. I'm happy with that, it's first win, so yeah, really pleased.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you go, well done David Baldwin. You can probably take the car off now, you can go and get dry now. There you go. They are race winner from the final race of the day, the final race of the season here for us actually at Donington Park. We're going to love you and leave you. We'll hopefully see you back here next year. I was going to say next week, but it's not next week, it's next year. We'll definitely see you back next year at Donington Park, and thank you so much for tuning in.